Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paula Greensmith, and I am so happy to welcome you to today's program, sponsored by the Black Women's Health Imperative in partnership with AARP and Urban Health Resource. Now, most of us are of a certain age, and I like to say that glorious stage of our lives where now more than ever, we should be taking control of our health and wellness. This is especially so during this social distancing time where we have all kind of found new ways to take care of ourselves. We've actually gotten more physically active, at least some of us have, and we are eating healthier, I think, because I know we are cooking more at home and eating at home. So I think a lot of the people that we are talking to, that we encounter on a day-to-day basis, are telling us the same thing, that because we are socially distancing, we're taking better care of ourselves. So that's kind of a silver lining in all of this. Our panel today includes some individuals who had already been doing those things to stay healthy and live a lifestyle of self-care and health and wellness. The pandemic just kind of prompted them to up their game because they were already committed to lifestyles of wellness and self-care. I too have personally been committed to wellness because as president and CEO of Urban Health Resource, it's been my job to make sure I not just walk the walk, but talk the talk and show others how to do so. So we are going to introduce you to a panel of people today that have worked with us throughout the Black Women Health Imperatives Network of delivering this CYL2 lifestyle change program to help individuals be healthy and prevent diabetes and other chronic diseases. And then we're also going to talk to some people that have actually participated in our program and have benefited from that, and they also live lifestyles of health and wellness because of that. So let me start by introducing you to Ife Johnson. Ife Johnson. Hey, Ife.
Hi, Paul. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you. Although we're all right here in Detroit, it's crazy we have to see each other this way, but hey, this is an air hug to you.
Okay.
Now, Ife, I like to refer to as my partner in public health, because she and I brought this program to Detroit. She's had a long experience, a great track record of health and wellness programming, public health in this area and throughout the country. And up until January, Ife was working with us on delivering the program for the Black Women's Health Imperative here in Detroit. But since January, as much as we hated to lose her, we're really proud of the fact that she became the executive director of the Oral Health Progress and Equity Network. The acronym is OPEN. It's comprised of 2,500 members across 50 states, and they are all dedicated to oral health, health equity, and social justice. And Ife is going to talk to us a little bit more about that when we get into our discussion with her. So welcome, Ife, and we're going to bring you back in a little bit, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Then we have Deborah Whitehunt. Deborah Whitehunt is the artistic director of the Detroit Windsor Dance Academy and all of their different dance companies. That's why she's wearing her crown, because she is definitely the queen of dance around here in Detroit. You know, that means something in Detroit because we all dance, okay?
This is for Ruth.
Pardon me?
It's for Ruth.
Thank you. It is for Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes.
We can't forget that. Thank you.
Right.
Deborah has danced and choreographed throughout the United States and all over the world, and has taught dance to people of all ages and different backgrounds. She's a member of one of our first CYL2 classes in Detroit. And in addition to developing tools and programs to prepare her students to excel in dance, she's also developed programs to help individuals, including many of our participants in our CYL2 program, to achieve physical activity goals as a means of getting and staying healthy. So thank you, Deborah, and we're going to bring you back in, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how you do what you do, okay? So thank you. Then we have Marilyn Gray. Marilyn Gray is a grants administrator and a dear friend also, who has successfully written proposals and secured grants that focus on assessing education, employment, and healthcare for the Detroit area residents. And she's done this for the past 20 years. Many of the activities or many of the grants that she's procured focus on increasing physical activity for youth, along with improving diets to set them on the path to healthy lifestyles, which we know is so important. And Marilyn was also a member of one of our CYL squared groups. So welcome, Marilyn. And we're so glad you could join us today.
Hi, Paula. Thanks for having me. Glad to be
Okay,
here.
so we're going to be bringing you back shortly as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then we also have Pete Rome, who I call my brother from another mother. He works with us at Urban Health Resource. He has over 20 years of experience working with Fortune 500 companies, nonprofits, and other corporations in training and development, sales, business operations, and customer service. Pete is a health and fitness enthusiast who facilitates lifestyle change programs as a senior lifestyle coach with us at Urban Health Resource. And he's also a program manager for our Change Your Lifestyle, Change Your Life program, CYL squared program, and has specifically coordinated some of our programs targeting Black males. Although he successfully facilitated programs for males, he also facilitates programs for women. And so we are just happy to have Pete on board, and he's going to talk to us a little bit more about what he does. Hey, Pete.
Good morning, Paul.
Okay, so let's begin with Ife. Ife, are you back there? All right. Okay, so in this, Ife, of course, we're going to focus a little bit on the components of a healthy lifestyle. And you know, you and I have done a lot of presentations about CYL squared and health and wellness and helping people to just do what they need to do to get on board with taking care of themselves. You know, one of my favorite, and I think is your favorite presentation we always say, what, Ife?
We were dancers.
Dancers. So I want you to try to give our audience a little bit of a synopsis of your journey, because in that presentation, we talk about not just how others can get healthy, but about our journey. So can you give our audience today a little synopsis of your journey and talk about the components of health and wellness that we know to be true that can help Black women and everyone in general, but specifically Black women, to get and stay healthy?
Well, we start off by saying that we really didn't have to worry about weight and things like that because we were dancers and we were in great shape. We exercised, we flowed, we did all that good stuff. Had bodies built for dancing. We knew we were going to be in great shape the rest of our lives. And then we, got out of school. We kind of moved on to sedentary jobs and sat down at desk, and we put on a couple of pounds, but we didn't worry about it because we were dancers. And, then we got married and kids came along, and that adds a few pounds and a little weight. And we started dealing with the kids, but it was all right. I mean, we were dancers. And when we started feeding the kids, we sometimes, cheated a little bit and had pizza and junk food. And we ate well sometimes, but we didn't worry about those pounds that kept adding to the hips because, after all, we were dancers. And when it finally got to the point where I went to the doctor's office and stepped on the scale, and he said, "You are officially overweight," I realized it wasn't a matter of being a dancer anymore. I was a person who had prediabetes, and I needed to do something to change my life and change my lifestyle and save my life in the process, because having been a dancer at one point wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm. I know it's so funny how we think about, all I got to do is, stop eating a little bit this week and do a little bit more moving, dance a little bit more, and I'm good. And again, we kind of let things get out of control. So, about how we did that, but you actually took the journey, and I did too. But I want you to talk about how you took that journey, or we actually start delivering this program to our participants.
Well, when we first started on this program, Paul and I did the training together, went down to Atlanta, went through all the classes. And I said, this sounds okay, but I don't know if this really works. And I'm one of those folks who doesn't believe in selling what I cannot buy. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I'm got a couple of extra pounds here. Let me see if this actually works. So I started taking the class. I started going through the class, the sessions a little bit before I started the class. So I was few weeks ahead of the class when we actually started. And so I had some ideas of what some of the bumps in the road might be, where they might run into issues. And it gave me a whole new perspective on what was easy, what wasn't, how to make it simpler, and how to make it work. And what I discovered going through the class and building that camaraderie with that first class, which was, I still have friends that are super tight. I saw some the other day, in fact. And in that process, I lost right around 20 pounds. And it changed everything. It changed how I walked, how I felt, my activity levels, my energy levels. And not just for me, but it also helped me with how I was feeding my family and, how my husband, and it always makes me angry that men can drop pounds faster than women. He dropped. I mean, we were shopping, as I like to say, in the basement, because we were able to pull out old clothes that we hadn't worn in longer than I wanted to remember, that now fit. I was able to start tucking my shirt into my pants instead of, wearing it outside to cover up all the bulges. I mean, it just made a big difference in how I felt.
Absolutely. So if one of my questions on my list for you was to ask you to talk about how the program, our CYL2 program, and I need to clarify for the audience, when we say CYL2, we're referring to Change Your Lifestyle, Change Your Life, which is the Black Women's Health Imperatives brand of the CDC's National Diabetes Prevention Program that doesn't just help you prevent diabetes, it helps you prevent all kinds of other chronic diseases like hypertension and all other kinds of things, especially that are related to health, obesity. And so we really have been able to help a lot of people to really change their lifestyles and change their lives and do it in a fun and inviting way. And I was going to ask you, Ife, to talk about how our program has helped women to see themselves and their health differently. But I think you've already described that so much that I'm going to ask you to talk about the mindset, because, many experts say that it starts with your mind. And I think we've learned that you are a living example of that. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Especially during this time period, when we know for a fact that Black women tend to have cortisol levels that are about 15% higher than the national average, which and cortisol is that hormone that it's the stress hormone. It's that one that when things are eating you, starts to eat you back and starts tearing your body apart. So not only does CYL2 help you understand what you should be eating, it also helps you understand what is eating you. How do you deal with your stress? How do you have a different mindset? How do you think about things in a positive light? It changes your stress levels. And it by bringing those down, you're sleeping better, and sleep is a major component to losing weight. You're able to move better, and we don't call it exercise; it's activity. It's finding something you love doing, because then you'll do it all the time. I love getting on my bike, and I hadn't done it in years. But once I got started, I can't wait till the end of this day, because I'm getting ready to go out and do about another 5-6 miles. But you start thinking of life as a joy rather than as a burden. And when that happens, everything about your life changes for the better.
Absolutely. And I think we have so many examples of how that's happened with the women in our groups and the men as well. So we're going to come back. Thank you so much, Ife. You and I can go on and on and on. Yeah. Fortunately, we're limited. So we're going to stop at this point. We're going to come back at the end. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so our next person is Deborah Whitehunt. We're going to bring her on to talk a little bit about her experience as not only a CYL2 group member, but how it has helped her throughout her life and her career. And she's done some phenomenal things with her company after going through our program. And I know you're already on track to do that, Deborah, but let's talk about that. So hi.
Hi there. Good to be here.
Great. It's good to have you here. Deborah, as a past CYL2 participant, talk to us about your experience in the program and how it has benefited you as a dancer, instructor, and business owner.
Sure. First, I'd just like to say that we knew about the program and we found out that there were some openings. And so some of the people in our business said, well, let's go, let's go. And, it's close by. So we did. And I always like to learn, especially about health and the body.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that I learned so much in
Mm-hmm.
this program. It was to teach us about our bodies and what we eat and how it affects everything else, because eating is so very important. So one of the things that we had to do, we had to write down, keep a food diary, write down what we ate. And then there were times when we were weighed in, and of course we would try and make sure that we had lost some weight and maybe do some drastic things near that time. But we found out that it's all about balance, and it's all about choices, and it's all about who we are meant to be in this world. And for me, and I think for everyone, is to be a person that takes care of your instrument, that body in which we live. And because we live in such a wonderful country as America, we have so many choices as to what we can put into our bodies. And so we have to realize that everything that we do, we have to be mindful about it,
Mm-hmm.
so that it really helps us along the way. So as a result, because exercise or movement activity was one of the things that we know goes hand in hand with our diet, we were able to formulate some classes that
Mm-hmm.
some of the ladies were able to partake in. And from that, we went on to have various classes with larger organizations that we told them, we were working with your program and we wanted to do even more for the community. So they allowed us at Ascension to set up programs, free programs with various different types of activities, so that people could choose what they wanted to do.
And that was so wonderful, because many people paying attention or tuning in with us today don't know that Deborah's dance company,
Academy.
her Detroit Windsor Dance Academy, it was down the hall from our space, and we were running groups in our space. So it just made it very convenient for us to be able to send a lot of the participants from our groups into her programs that she ran after being a member of one of our groups. So that was really good to help our participants stay on board with their physical activity goals, to really achieve those. So we can't thank you enough for that. Deborah, you mentioned mindfulness, and that's such a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about that more when we all come back together at the end. But what I'd like you to give our audience a little bit better understanding of how your own mindfulness as a dancer has helped you with your career, because you're a business owner. And I know, even though, we talk about, as Ife and I were talking about in our presentation, as dancers, we think, okay, we got it. We can always get it together, and we're healthy and we're fit and we're moving. But we also kind of can backslide. That's not a dance move. Okay. And so I know that you, as a business owner, have a lot of different, obligations that you're juggling,
Yes.
but you still keep it together and stay true to your own health and wellness. So can you talk a little bit more about how your mindfulness as a person committed to health and wellness has helped you to do more with your business? Has it helped you do some other things with your business that you may not have done before?
Well, as a dancer and a person, that believes, in the instrument in which we were given, it has to be a mindful task. And I say task because you don't always want to listen to it, to the instructions that are coming, through you and to you, because it's a lot of work. If there was a time when it was just fun, I mean, I woke up, I went to sleep dancing, that's all I wanted to do. And as you said, then life comes in. But you have to be mindful, because you have to remember, don't forget the fun. Don't forget that time when I was a teenager or 10 years old, when dance first came into my life. And I think that we all have something that we were given, like you said, that we like to do, that can get us up off of that couch and get us moving. Because one of my sayings is, dance is movement. Movement is life. And as long
Mm.
as we are breathing, we're moving. And when that last breath, is released from our body, we're no longer moving. So movement is part of health. It's part of every day. I mean, that's who we are. So we just have to find, do the work, do the search, find out what it is that we like. Because even if you don't like to do an activity, if you're into housework, I mean, that's
Mhm.
a lot of effort on your body. And you can really find out how great exercise can be when you don't do it and then you do it all at
Mhm.
once and you feel those muscles talking to you. So it's like someone once told me, our bodies don't fail us, we fail our bodies. And so when someone said that to me, I thought about it. I said, wow,
Mhm.
that's really deep. That's very true. So I believe in eating God's food. The things that are natural here, do I eat otherwise? Yes. Do I eat
Mhm.
a lot? Sometimes. And I really have to catch myself and find out, well, what's causing me to eat this or eat that? And a lot of it, you need something to make you feel better. And then
Mhm.
I have to tell myself, well, Debbie, let's get this together
Mhm.
and go forth. We all, like you say, fall off a little bit, but I do want to continue to be healthy. And in order
Mhm.
to do that, I have to do a little bit more work because I'm a little bit older when I just can't jump up and go dance.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then later on, I want to talk about that a little bit more because when we say dance, I mean, we know you're a professional dancer. You're living the life of a professional dancer. And others, I often feel that people, when we say, do you like to dance? And some people say, well, no. I think that they are more concerned about how they look. And I'm like, is somebody paying you to dance? Because if they're not paying you, you just do what makes you feel good. Nobody's paying you as a
It's
choreographer
true.
or anything. Just move. And we'll
Yes.
talk a little bit more about that at the end. But I appreciate what you bring to our programming in general. You start off as a participant with us, but I was so happy when you joined because I knew what you were going to do. And I knew you would be a living example of just how people could just keep it together no matter what's going on. So thank you so much, Deborah. We're going to come
Thank
back to you in
you.
a little bit
Okay.
and we're going to move on to the next person. Okay. So Marilyn is going to come on. Marilyn Gray. We already gave you a little background on Marilyn, but what I love, and I'm going to ask you to talk about some Marilyn, as you were a former participant, and I shouldn't say former participant because once a participant in our groups, you've got the information and the spirit for life. But one of the unique things about you, Marilyn, is that you came into our group already having recognized there were some lifestyle changes you needed to make, and you had already started making them. So you were already on a path to success, and you did even more with that once you got into the group. So how did the program actually help you maintain the track that you were already on? And basically, how did it help you to continue on your journey for your health and wellness goals?
All right. Thank you, Paula, for having me today. When I came into the program, maybe the year prior to coming into the program, I went to my doctor to have my physical exam and found out that I was pre-diabetic and actually obese. Grew up as a chubby child, struggled with my weight for the most of my life, I would say. And I'd never really considered a lifestyle where I would actually be healthy, and that's kind of bad. Now that I'm talking about it, but it's real. So that was a rude awakening for me. And what I decided to do, because I knew that I was not really, I love vegetables, but I really wasn't a fruit lover. And recognizing that the way I satisfied my sweet tooth, I would say, was through things like baked goods. I'm a baker, I bake something desserts every weekend. My family had baked homemade baked goods. I grew up like that. So
Phenomenal ones at that.
yeah, right. Anyway, so I decided that I start with sugar. Let me see if I could cut sugar out of my diet. I'm a coffee drinker, so that was the first thing that I did. I cut sugar. I don't have sugar in my coffee. And then from there, I went to just developing a mindset. You guys have been speaking about a mindset, and I actually read about just how your body metabolizes fat, and understood the chemistry or the science behind it. So I made a decision to, avoid sugar, and it was real easy. It was easier than most people would think it would be, because for me, I lived my life in the moment, and in that being mindful. I adopted this attitude. I realized that overeaters eat as if there's no tomorrow. So for me, I just had to be in the moment. And as I did that, I found out that I didn't crave sweets as most people think they would. If you cut something out of your diet, or sugar out of your diet, I actually didn't even think about it. Noticed that I wasn't buying as much sugar I didn't buy sugar anymore. So whenever I needed to bake something, sometimes I would notice that I didn't have sugar in the household. So coming over to your program, I had already shed maybe about 15 pounds. And what the program did for me was, first of all, I was a part of a community, and that's really big. A community of like-minded thinkers. We were all on the same journey, and that was a wonderful support group. So in that support group, you develop this culture. And so, as Deborah said, in terms of how we was it Ife, both of them were participants, but we had to keep a food log. And with that, it's a food diary, and you write down what you're eating. So if what it did for me is make me aware of what I'm putting, the amount of calories that I'm putting into my body, and also keeping track of my physical activity, which I was more focused on what I was eating, not as much focused on physical activity. And the two go hand in hand. So with, what the calories in and the calories out. So that's it for me. The big thing was the fellowship, and just the awareness, the fact that I needed to be more physically active.
Yes. And you know what? The good part is, one of the things that you just mentioned is a really good part of our program is that sense of camaraderie you get with others, people that help you on your journey, and you're helping them on their journey. Right. Writing down those things that you're eating. We know that tracking is one of the top indicator of weight loss. And so if you're tracking, what you're eating. It's like knowing how much gas is in your car. You got to know what you're doing, and you can pay attention to it. If you pay attention to it, and as our lifestyle coaches review what you're eating, we can actually help you to look at, hey, you notice that when you eat this, you eat more of something else later on that may not be working toward helping you get towards or achieve your goals. So I thank you for mentioning that, Marilyn. One of the things, though, that you just said that even I'm still challenged with, and that is, you said it was easy to give up sugar. Okay. I find that it's easy once I gradually cut it out, then I crave less of it. And I think with the science is behind it. The science tells us that. But what did you do, since you make great, pastries and things that I know about, I've tasted, I know too well. Can you give our audience any suggestions of ways that they can cut the sugar from their items, or do you cut them from the pastries?
Okay, so what I did, as I said before, I was not eating fruit. Okay, and that's a natural sugar, a source of sugar. What I learned was that that satisfied my quote unquote sweet tooth. There were some things that I knew I needed to balance off my diet, the vegetables and the fresh fruit. I tried to eat as close to the earth as possible, because I figured that that's going to metabolize more. But the other thing is, I really committed. It was for myself, for my own physical well-being, mental well-being, emotional well-being, spiritual well-being. It's all connected. I really wanted to be a better person. And that's through the process of aging. I think in our youth, when we're young, we take so many things for granted. And as we get older, we see our family members dying off. I have family members that had cancer, emphysema, things that plague our community, especially. So it's not necessarily easy. I think for me, it's just living in the moment. And I think a lot of times you have to plan what you eat. So for me, I had to be really organized. I really had to know what I was going to eat. Taking my lunch to work every day, every morning, preparing my lunch. And that way I didn't really have time, or I had no desire to eat outside of what I had planned to eat that day.
So real quick, because we got to wrap up this one and we're going to bring you back this part of the program, but tell the audience a little bit like what you just told me about what you do for ice cream cravings, because I love ice cream,
okay, so,
and I know what I do, but I want people to hear
it's funny.
Your strategy.
Yeah, because I still love ice cream. I still love cake. I still love all of these things. And I was sharing with Paula the other day and I shared with one of my girlfriends who she thought it was crazy, but she tried it herself. So I go to the grocery store and I look at the ice cream, and they have all these wonderful flavors of ice cream, and I'm like, I bet that tastes good. And so vicariously, I have this experience, and it seems to work. But if I do, and I do eat sweets, I might eat a whole piece of cake. But for the most part, I think that when we crave things, or if I'm curious about how something tastes, I take one forkful of it, and that's quenched my curiosity. So anything after the first forkful is overeating. So if you want to just have a sampling of things, just take a little bit and then go on to something else. So that's how I deal with it.
I love it. And I told her about how I actually have gone to Baskin Robbins and looked at the flavors and just kind of gotten a little sample and let that be all I could eat. Because if I go buy the whole thing and bring it home, I'm eating it. So we have to know ourselves and do what we have to do to control our own lack of will sometimes, our lack of willpower sometimes.
That's true.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marilyn. We're going to bring you back.
Thank you.
We're going to Pete right now, and we're going to bring you back at the end. Thank you. So we've heard some phenomenal stuff from the ladies on the panel, and now we're going to bring on Pete. Pete's is our dose of testosterone. How you doing, Pete?
I'm great. How are you this morning?
I'm great.
Good.
So Pete, Pete has a wonderful background in working with men to help them stay healthy, but your groups of women have been just as successful. So talk to us a little bit about, first of all, what made you become a lifestyle coach, Pete? Let's start with that.
Great question, Paula. A number of things, I think, and not necessarily in this order, but in our community, I found that our Black men ended up with more chronic diseases like diabetes and high blood pressure, heart disease than any other population. And I found that we often end up dying a lot younger than the women in our lives. Mm-hmm. So as a result of that, I said, I want to find out more and see how I can be a help and a resource. And then I found that the women in our lives end up taking care of their mothers, their brothers, their husbands, and also their fathers, and oftentimes neglecting their own self-care. So as a result of that, I wanted to learn a lot more how I could be a resource. The other couple things included that as a former athlete, I found that a number of my teammates just completely neglected their overall health. And we're sitting around one day, and my daughter said that, Daddy, we've heard all these stories about you as an athlete and on and on. We actually want to see it. And I'm like, what do you mean you want to see it? And they're like, get up, we're going to go run. I'm like, well, that's kind of a challenge right now, but okay. And we continue to do that. And all of a sudden they're like, you know what? All these stories, it's like, you're going to compete in the Senior Olympics, and guess what? We're going to coach you. And I'm like, well, now it's a stretch. But I'm like, okay. And I said, well, if that's going to happen, then we got to make some lifestyle changes centered around health and nutrition. So the program, Change Your Lifestyle, was a perfect program to do that, because it really forced you to really take a look at your current lifestyle and what you were putting into your body. So, those are the reasons that I really wanted to be a lifestyle coach and really share that knowledge and information with, the people and the men and women in our communities.
I love that. I love how your journey is about someone that went from being super active, like we've been talking about. Ife and I were talking about how we were dancers. Deborah talks about how she continues to be a dancer. Your journey was about being an athlete and kind of stopping and, kind of having to get back on track with taking care of your body and getting back to that level, really challenging yourself. And I love how your daughters were a part of that challenge for you, because we know that even though we're talking about women in these programs, but women are the ones taking care of the men most of the time and getting the men to take care of themselves. So that's a big part of the journey. Would you say, what would you say have been some of the challenges that you've had, or have there been challenges in working with the women in our program? And how have you been able to take your life experience and help them to achieve their goals?
Paula, a couple things. I think number one is just getting people to really send and bring in accurate data. And what I mean is, you had mentioned it before, we track what we eat. We track our food, and that becomes really important. And the other thing is just also tracking the amount of physical activity that you get a week. And those become really important, because we can't make really good recommendations and coach unless we have accurate information. So it becomes really important that, we get that information so we can help. The other thing is keeping participants engaged.
Yes.
And as you know, we do a number of fun things throughout, the year in that class. As an example, one of the highlights is we have that super Thanksgiving dinner, which is a healthy dinner. The other thing,
meal makeover feast.
Oh, that is phenomenal.
Explain that to our group, Pete, what we do.
So what we do after we've been in the program for a while, so we get closer to Thanksgiving, everyone decides that they're going to bring in a Thanksgiving dish, but not a traditional dish, but something that's healthy. Take that macaroni and cheese and make it healthy. Make the turkey and dressing and make that healthy. So we have all our participants bring in something, and it just becomes a great healthy feast. And people don't realize that you can have, great food, but it can be healthy food. So that's one great activity. The other one that I think the women really love, and I'm sure you'll, talk more about that, is as they lose inches and pounds, they get a chance to go on a shopping spree with you. And that's an incredible experience for them as they continue to see changes in their body.
Look, I love how Pete talks about that. Look, that was a bra makeover. We go to a place here that's actually an undergarment makeover. But we'll talk a little bit more about that, because that is one of our most popular programs or supplemental programs to our program. And we also have had so much success with that meal makeover feast that we actually use that in our in-person recruitment activities. We actually take most unhealthy recipes and we make them over in healthy ways and show people how they can eat well and eat well in a way that is good for them and to them. And so I'm glad you mentioned that, Pete, because that's one of our most popular activities. And we do a lot of fun activities. Yeah. Okay, so I think let me bring everyone back to the table. Pete, I'm glad that you were able to talk to us about that and bring up some of our favorite things, because Ife and I have actually pretended to be chefs in some of those events. So we do have a lot of fun, and I hope you and the audience recognize that we're not just talking to you about getting healthy and staying healthy. We actually show you ways to do it that are not insurmountable, things that just can be a part of your everyday life and make it fun, because we recognize that if we don't do that, you aren't going to do this. It'll be another diet. And our program is not a diet program. It is a lifestyle change program. We teach you ways to do this for the long haul so that you can have a longer haul, a longer life. So welcome back, panel.
Thank you.
Hi.
Okay, so I feel, you know me, I get excited, and I've been told that when I get excited, I move. And I told myself, and I promised everybody working on this that I wasn't going to do that. But I'm talking about stuff I love, and I'm talking to people I love. So I'm sorry, I'm doing it. Okay, I'm shaking my shimmy to all of you who I said I wouldn't do that with. So panel, let's all shake our shimmy. No, okay. Let's talk about some of the things that we all have found to be true in keeping ourselves healthy, but also keeping others healthy. And let's open this up for our audience. You can now send us questions that we can respond to for you. So everybody ready for this?
Yeah.
Let's talk about, let's begin with emotional wellness. That's a big part of this. We're talking about mindfulness, self-care, and all. We can't talk about any of what we've been talking about without putting some emphasis on the whole emotional wellness part of this. So what role can you talk to our audience about, what role does emotional wellness play in being healthy and staying healthy? Anyone want to take that question?
Well, for me, I'm extremely emotional, and it can be good and bad. But I realize
Can't hear.
Can't hear me. Can you hear me
It's
now?
fading.
No. Can you hear me now? I can't
I
hear
can.
anything. Oh, you can't?
We're not going to let the tech gremlins get us. We're going to keep it moving. So just come on.
Okay.
I think we've all gotten used to that in this era. So
yeah.
we can hear you.
Okay. I was saying, because I am so emotional, I realize I have to be aware of that and let it work for me. But when I get really emotional, then that's when I go into my breathing techniques, because I find that helps me to relax and to get back to nature, to do things that are calming for me. It's like to take a walk, to be in nature, to be in the water, to be in the bath, tub with various, salts that are going to relax me and rejuvenate me until I can just calm myself down to a point where I'm not overdoing emotionally, and then be aware of what I put into my body during this time, because that's when you really want to eat, junk food or food that gives you a different type of feeling. But to just be mindful that there is a tomorrow.
Great, thank you. And I love how you talked about the really practical things that everyone can do. Because oftentimes when people hear terms like self-care, they think, oh, that means I got to go join a spa where I can go on a trip and sit on the beach. Well, you know what? Sometimes your bathtub can be your beach.
That's
Okay,
right. That's
let's
right.
make that work. Ife?
I think one of the important things is not to feel deprived.
Yes.
Yes.
We focus a lot of times, especially during this time period, on what we can't do instead of what we can.
Yes.
For example, I'm working from home, obviously, and which is a great thing. I call my husband on the way into my commute downstairs, things like that. But you start looking for those silver linings. What are the good parts about this? One of the things I've done is I got a lift desk so I can stand up more while I'm at work. And while we were talking, it just got delivered. I'm really excited. I got an under desk bicycle. I mean, it's a full bicycle I can sit on and pedal while I'm talking. So
Wow.
you start looking for things that you can do that you enjoy doing.
Yes.
This is not a matter of what I can't have. It's a matter of being creative about what I can. The same thing happens even with the whole program in terms of foods and whatnot. This isn't about you can't have everything.
Right.
It's about having different portion sizes or finding substitutes that are just as good or better. It's about finding ways to satisfy all your cravings and still be healthy while you're doing it. There are so many ways to be healthy. if we are willing to open our minds up to that. And so I think that's part of the importance of understanding that you're not depriving yourself, you're giving yourself gifts all day long.
Thank you. I so agree. Marilyn.
Yes.
Okay, for me, I practice Transcendental Meditation, and that is definitely a distressor. But over the summer, I've incorporated. Well, actually, I started with my trainer, Lizette Pelzer, about 2.5 years ago. And she's my classmate from junior high school. And saw her at our 60th birthday party bash, and she asked me to give me an assessment at her facility. So when I went, and she's persistent, she called me every month checking in on me. So I finally committed to going into her facility for weight fitness training, and 2.5 years later I'm still with her. So that definitely helps me with I just feel so much better after working out. And also I've incorporated walking into my morning, so I actually greet the day with a morning walk, and that helps tremendously.
Yeah, I love how all of us, we hear so many people complaining about when we were self-quarantined and how everything has changed so much, and the social distancing is so much of a burden on us. But I find that as social as I am, I've actually found some other ways to stay engaged and to do some things and to do a little bit, stay healthy in different ways than I was doing before. And I actually have had more time to do that. So I've been riding bikes. Ife, you mentioned getting out riding. I have a friend that actually forced me to get out to ride bikes with her every day. And I forgot how much I enjoyed riding bikes. So that's something that I'm doing. And I know of others that are doing things. I love the bicycle under the desk, Ife. I actually suggested that to someone not too long ago. And so I want to hear your experience so I can pass that on to him, because I was suggesting it because I saw it. But now I actually know someone who has one. So it looks like the tech gremlin that I thought we weren't going to allow to come into this program today actually might have taken Pete out to lunch. So if we can't get Pete back, we're going to make sure we bring Pete back on another program, because he has a lot to share with us on this about what we're doing as well. But let's continue with our discussion and hope Pete comes back, and maybe he'll bring the gremlin back and we can talk to him too. Notice I called the gremlin a he. Okay. Let's go back to talking a little bit more about what you've learned about the lifestyle change program. And Ife, I know this is a cheating question for you, because you know the program inside and out. So this is mostly for Marilyn and Deborah. But I'd like for us all to talk about how it has influenced what we do in other aspects of our professional lives, especially you right now, Ife, because I don't think I got to ask you about that with your new role with oral health and the role that oral health plays in our overall health.
Did you want me to start?
Yes.
Well, one of the things that is very important to me in terms of oral health is that at least 98% of what goes into your body goes through your oral cavity. Mm-hmm. So we start thinking about what we're putting in our mouth, not only in terms of how it affects our teeth and the oral cavity, but how it affects our body as a whole. And your oral health is integral to your overall health. If you are getting infections in your mouth, you're not able to eat, you're not able to chew your food well, it affects how your weight, and it affects your heart, it affects your lungs, it affects your entire body. So I have taken a lot of what I have learned with Black Women's Health Imperative in the CYL2 program into the oral health field. And we have incorporated a lot of that information into the work that we're doing. So this has been an interesting blend of topics for me. And I think people are learning quite a bit from this. I can't tell you. In fact, while I was in backstage, so to speak, I got a text message from one of the folks who just sent me his weight for the day and wonderful. Eating, so that we're still keeping up with folks and helping, even though I'm not officially still doing this. Officially, this goes on, and you just never stop doing this program. It's just wonderful.
And hence change your lifestyle, change your life. Okay. Marilyn, we didn't get to talk to you a little bit more before in your last segment about, we didn't get to hear more about how you have incorporated your own journey in health and wellness and what you've learned in the program and what you've learned in your own research, and how you've applied that to your work, because you write grants and you get the money for people.
I do. So actually I had to, we're in the process of, we just got it's called the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program. It's a program through the U.S. Department of Agriculture that actually comes through Michigan. Michigan is the fiduciary. And we had a sizable amount of money. So this is our 12th year in the program. The information that I gleaned from the CYL2 program does definitely help me with grant proposals, research. And then most recently, I did help procure another grant for the fitness center that I work out with, where I train. Mm-hmm. So just understanding I'm very committed to, as I mentioned earlier in the discussion, that I grew up as a chubby child. And so if we can start with our children, mm-hmm. and our kids they're so open to learning new things. Do I have time to talk about this one situation? It's kind of an anecdote. It's really cute.
I love it. I want you to do that because we don't get to put children, and I want to say this to the audience because I want you to tell that story. But audience, okay. We don't have children in our program. Our program is for adults, individuals over 18. However, we know that oftentimes there are people that, as young as 5th and 6th grade and even younger that need our program. They need to be practicing the strategies that we teach in the program. And so oftentimes we're able to get those individuals healthy, those children healthy, by getting their parents in the program. Because usually if there's a child that's unhealthy, that parent is pretty unhealthy or doing some things that are not helping to contribute to a healthier lifestyle for that child. So we've been able to have the parents actually learn enough to be able to go home and prepare meals differently, do things differently with their family to bring those younger people on board with the program. And Marilyn has a wonderful story about that. So Marilyn, talk to me.
Okay. So this program is geared to kindergarten through 5th grade students. So one year, one of the teachers love it, the students love it, we all love it. The goal of the program is to expose children to fresh fruit and vegetables. And this story, this anecdote just kind of puts the exclamation point behind what the goal of the program is. All right, so 1st grade teacher shared with me that one of her students, who was a 6-year-old girl, her parent came in one Monday morning and said, my daughter told me you had something that started with a B, that she had something that started with a B at school last week. And she says, oh, that was broccoli. So what we do, and the parent had never heard of broccoli. So what we do, we also have recipe cards. And so the teacher gave the recipe card to the parent. And then the next weekend, the little girl, after the next weekend, she came in and she said, my mom cooked broccoli for dinner. So, and what's happened is these kids, because they're exposed to the produce, when they go grocery shopping with their families or their parents, they're decision makers. They actually request the items that they're exposed to in the program. So that to me was just so special.
I love that story because in our groups, I know Ife, you can speak to this as well. How many times we've had people say, I don't eat vegetables. I don't like vegetables. Mm-hmm. And what we have found is that they don't like the way they've been prepared for them before, mm-hmm. or they haven't been introduced to those vegetables. So that's a big part of our program. Deborah, you and because we're still talking about how you have incorporated what you've learned in the program and what you've practiced in your life and your journey of health and wellness in your professions. And you talked about the program you did where you actually were able to offer different types of dance to people just to get active. Can you talk a little bit about that from the standpoint of people learning different ways to move? Because there's some people, for instance, that would say, oh, no, ballet is just not something I'm interested in. I just don't, I'm not interested in ballet. That's that stuffy stuff. But then you gave them an introduction to all kinds of different forms of dance that pretty much everybody could do. Can you want to talk about that?
Yes, I think we did a 10-week program, and each week we
Yes.
made each we took a subject that was different, a dance form that was different. And so to give people an opportunity to experience or explore new movement phrases, new movement types. And so it was very exciting because they did get to realize that sometimes you just have to, have a little courage and put yourself out there, because especially in our community, we have such a self-esteem situation that we deal with, especially when it comes to our bodies. And we know that in the dance studio, you have mirrors and you're looking at yourself, and people have made all kind of negative remarks to you, throughout your life, that you're trying to overcome. But we just try to get everyone to realize, just, go for it, just take that step, because what's on the other side of that could be something that is totally transforming to your entire life, because we're made to move, and there's something that will grab you. Everyone's not going to be a dancer, everyone's not going to be on stage. Even with our dancers, we know that some parents bring them there for the experience, but to me, dance is movement, and movement is life. And to have the opportunity to move your body is so life-giving. It's
Yes.
so wonderful. And to put music to it, and most of us are music folk. We grew up with music in our homes. And sometimes you just have to put the music on and let go, and don't worry about, like you said, who's watching, who's listening, because it's not about what they think is. And to get really take that journey inside and say, what is your body telling you? And
Yes.
and it's going to tell you, wow, I feel really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to say one thing about what I've learned, and that is still with me. I remember, I'll never forget, Helena brought some pretzels into one of our meetings, and at the time we were taught to look at the labels and look at everything that was all the ingredients, and we had to find non-fat foods. And these pretzels we still buy. We love them. They're delicious. Thank you, Helena. And they're very, very low calorie. And the other thing is cereal, cold cereal. Most people say it's not good for you, what have you. And Bruce, the other day, we didn't have time to fix breakfast. I said, well, get some cereal. He says, too, it's not good for you. It's fat. I said, well, that's not what I learned in Paula's class. I learned that you have to look at the amount of cereal that you put into that bowl. And I said, I remember I had done my homework and I went into class, and it just so happened Paula called on me and she says, now, what is the portion size for cereal? Is this enough? And I knew the answer because I had done my homework, and so I said, oh, I should have not said I knew the answer, because it took away from the excitement of the class. But it's really the portion size. I learned a lot about, paying attention to what is one, portion, instead of eating the whole box of cereal.
And
Okay.
reading labels and knowing that, when you see that, 100 calories, make sure they're not saying 100 calories for 1/4 of the package. So that's another thing
Right.
we learn in our groups is reading labels, portion control.
Yes.
I'm so glad you mentioned those things, Deborah, because, and I'm glad you mentioned Helena, because for the audience, Helena was one of our group members who became a lifestyle coach. And that happens a lot, that people get in the program, learn so much, do so well that they become lifestyle coaches with us. So thank you for mentioning that. And Helena's, I think, tuned in today. Hey, Helena.
Hi.
Shout out. Okay. Okay, so we've got some questions. I'm going to try to address the questions from the audience here. Let's see. One of the questions is, how supportive are spouses in personal lifestyle journeys? So for you on the panel, how supportive, I think Deborah just spoke to it a little bit there, but how supportive have your spouses been for you in your lifestyle journey to health?
You want me to answer it? Or, oh, well, my husband has been very supportive, period.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I can say that when I started with my fitness trainer, she said, your husband's going to probably want to sign up, come for classes too. And I said, well, I don't think so. And sure enough, I was like, so the first time he said, can you get her number? Can you ask her how much it costs? So he asked it the first time I went, and I didn't ask her because I didn't think he was serious. Then the second time, the third time, are you serious? And he did start training with her. So, yep.
So not only are they sometimes very, very, I think all of our spouses, Pete's included, Pete is back. All of our spouses are very, very supportive. But not only can our spouses be supportive, but those that really need to make some changes themselves have got on board. And I know Ife has a special story about that.
Well, I would say Larry has been wonderful. At the same time, your spouse can be one of those folks who rewards you with little things that may not be the best things to get rewarded.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to bring you home some cake or some ice cream or some caramel
cake.
corn, all kinds of things that you like. And I've learned how to say thank you and kind of no thank you. But also because he kind of got onto the program with me, he now pushes for us to have healthier meals. Oh no, we shouldn't have this. Oh, why are you putting that in the food? You know we shouldn't have that in it. So we can leave the extra butter out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually, it's interesting. You develop a taste for healthier food.
Yes.
And you no longer,
That's
I don't
true.
know when we've had anything fried in ages because we just don't like fried anymore.
And you use the air fryer a lot, don't you?
Oh yeah, we have what is fried food, but with absolutely no oil at all.
Right.
And we found great ways of making them, and everyone's very happy with that. We have had participants in the class though, whose husbands really didn't want them to lose weight. They were afraid they were going to lose, as we would call them, their assets,
Yes.
or that they were afraid that they weren't going to fix the meals that the husband liked. But inevitably, when people start making those meals, like your sneaky meal about changing some of the triple cheese, macaroni and cheese
Yes.
that you made it healthy, suddenly people realize that they liked it better than what you had traditionally done. And people no
As
longer.
long as we didn't tell them what they were eating, we didn't tell them it was healthy up front. We didn't tell them. We let them get into it first and then told them it was healthy.
And everyone's happy.
Yeah. Well, we've all, in our culture, we've all heard that saying, somebody loved me to death or he loved her to death. That after you go through a program like this and you learn all the different things that you're doing that aren't contributing to you having a longer, healthier life, we recognize, I don't want you loving me to death. Don't love me to death. Love me to life. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. And I think that's one of the takeaways from our program. And especially when we think about supportive spouses in the program. We're running out of time. So, we're Detroit. And I want to, first of all, thank all of you, including Pete. Pete has been able to come in and out. But thank you, Pete. Thank you all panelists for sharing what you do to stay healthy. But we're Detroit. And if I had my way, we'd have a bunch of Motown music blasting in the background. So, we can hear it. Think about the Temptations playing the way you do the things you do. You share with us the way you do the things you do. And so I want to take us out with, before we go to a quick video, I want you to just say one word you do of that can kind of give the audience an idea of what you do to stay healthy. So how do you do the things you do? One word.
Love.
Pray.
Exercise, relax, or be active.
Okay, thank you for all of those words. For me, of course, it's dance. I truly believe life is a dance, and I say choose your music wisely. So we hope we've given you some notes to add to your music for you to live your life wisely, to dance that dance of health and wellness wisely. Before we go on to this, before we close out with the video, a few words from the Black Women's Health Imperative. I just want to make sure that we thank all of our panelists. We want to thank the AARP for their partnership in this program. I want to thank my staff at UHR, Urban Health Resource here in Detroit, for all you do to help us be able to do what we do to deliver the Black Women's Health Imperatives program here in Detroit. And most of all, we want to thank you, our audience members, for coming on, joining us today, giving us your lunch break or whatever it is, whatever part of your day, if it's just a glance. We thank you for being a part of this, and we hope that you join us and we can all get into the healthy stride of life together. So thank you so much. And yes, I did shake my shimmy to the people that I told I wouldn't. But before we go, we're going to ask you to tune into this video. And again, we thank you and we look forward to seeing you the next time.
Change your lifestyle, change your life.
Yes.
The Black Women's Health Imperatives Popular Lifestyle Change Program is going virtual. CYL2 is all about healthy lifestyles in a community to help you connect with like-minded people who understand it's a journey, not a race. Are you looking for health tips, cooking demos, and wellness support? Look no further. The app allows you to participate in the program right from home. And you have your very own lifestyle coach. Interested in nutrition? Managing stress? There are resources for overall health, live events, and more. The BWHI app also has communities where you can find your tribe. No matter where you are in your wellness journey, you will enjoy the CYL2 Lifestyle Change Program offered through the BWHI app. Visit our website today and request information on how to join the virtual program.